231, kind of a surprise here. Remember me, I used to do economic data here, but when we used to have data. First data point of the week, 231,000. That is quite a change from what we had in the previous month. The continuing claims at this point look like they've gone up. I'm waiting to get the change from the revisions, and they're at 1,785,000. The initial print last week was 1,774,000, so a slight rise there. Okay, 209 is the revision to last week, so we go from 209 to 231, and we go from 1,768,000 to 1,785,000. So not a huge rise in the continuing claims number, but a fairly big proportional rise in the initial jobless claims number. But we've been here before, so we have to see if this continues.
Yeah, we have. We've got up to these levels and then dropped back down towards 200k again. But nevertheless, the question will be asked at 231 versus the estimate of 212. What is the difference between a welcome cooling in this labour market and an unwelcome deterioration? So, Mike, that is the question that will be on people's minds. Looking at a number that reads 231 against an estimate of 212, are we seeing a welcome cooling in the labour market or an unwelcome deterioration?
Well, unfortunately, with this high-frequency data, it's going to take you a number of weeks to find it out because, of course, it's the first time in a while that we've bounced up. Now, do we stay up? Are companies laying off more people, or is this a one-off that we have to figure out going forward? That's the hard part with this data.
I know we ask this every time, and, it feels like it needs to be asked again. What's the usefulness of initial job claims to give us any sort of signal value?
Only in a sort of an aggregate over time period. On a weekly basis, it doesn't add a lot to it, but it does suggest if you see two things. A rise in the initial claims over a period of time suggests that companies are starting to get rid of workers because they see something that worries them. And a rise in continuing claims would tell you it's getting harder for people to find jobs. Now, we had this, as John said, a couple of weeks ago, and then it went away again. So you got to be extremely careful in deciding this is something that matters.